I stood in that doorway, and I couldn't breathe. 30 years. 30 years I waited for this man to come back, and now he was standing on my porch, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my house. My father. The same man who walked out on me and my mom when I was 7 years old, left us with nothing but unpaid bills and a note on the kitchen table. That man was now worth $12 billion. And he wanted to talk to me. I want you to sit with that for a second. Because what happened next changed everything I thought I knew about family, about money, and about what it actually means to be rich. Stay with me. This is a long one, but I promise you, it's worth it. Okay, let me back up. My name doesn't matter for this story. What matters is what happened to me. So let's just call me, me. And let's go back to the beginning. I grew up in a small town. Nothing fancy. My mom worked 2 jobs. She cleaned offices at night and worked the register at a grocery store during the day. We didn't have much. Actually, we barely had anything. My dad left when I was 7. I don't remember a lot about him, honestly. I remember he smelled like coffee. I remember he used to sing off key in the car. And I remember the day he left, because it's burned into my brain like a scar that never fades. He didn't say goodbye. He just left. My mom found the note. I still remember her face when she read it. She didn't cry in front of me. She waited until she thought I was asleep, and then I heard her through the wall. You might be wondering, why would a father just disappear like that? I used to ask myself that every single day. For years. I made up stories in my head. Maybe he got kidnapped. Maybe he was secretly a spy. Maybe he was coming back next week, next month, next year. He never came back. Not for my 9th birthday. Not for my high school graduation. Not for my mom's funeral. I built a life without him. I had to. By the time I was 18, I was working 2 part-time jobs just to help my mom keep our apartment. College felt like a fantasy for kids with parents who had money to spare. I didn't have that luxury. I remember filling out financial aid forms at the kitchen table, crying because I didn't even know how to answer half the questions. Father's income. I just wrote 0. Because as far as I was concerned, I didn't have a father. I never thought I'd say this, but there were nights I actually prayed he'd come back. Not because I missed him, I didn't even really know him, but because I thought maybe, just maybe, things would be easier if he did. They weren't easier. He never came. So I grew up fast. I got a job in a warehouse. Then I worked my way into a small office job doing data entry. I met my wife. Well, she wasn't my wife yet then, at a laundromat, of all places. We were both broke, both exhausted, both just trying to survive. We fell in love over shared quarters for the dryer and cheap coffee from the gas station. We got married in her parents' backyard. No fancy dress. No band. Just family, some string lights, and a cake her aunt baked. It was the best day of my life, and it cost us less than $400. I tell you all this because I want you to understand. I built my entire life believing my father was gone. Not dead. Just gone. Erased. A ghost from a childhood I tried not to think about too much. And then, 30 years later, he shows up at my door in a suit worth more than my house. But before I tell you about that day, I need to tell you about the years leading up to it. Because those years were brutal. My wife and I had 2 kids. A boy and a girl. We loved them more than anything, but raising kids without money is one of the hardest things a person can do. I'm not exaggerating when I say there were months where we had to choose between paying the electric bill and buying groceries. I remember one Christmas, my son was maybe 6, and we didn't have money for gifts. Not real gifts anyway. My wife stayed up until 2 in the morning making little handmade toys out of cardboard and paint. I watched her do it, and I felt like the biggest failure on earth. A father who couldn't even buy his kid a toy. You might be thinking, why didn't you just ask for help? And believe me, I get that question a lot. But pride is a strange thing. It convinces you that admitting you're struggling makes you weak. It took me years to understand that asking for help isn't weakness, it's survival. Things got worse before they got better, though. Much worse. When I was 34, I lost my job. The company downsized, and I was one of the names on the list. Just like that, 15 years of loyalty meant nothing. I remember sitting in my car in the parking lot after they told me, just staring at the steering wheel, trying to figure out how I was going to tell my wife. We lost our apartment 4 months later. We had to move in with my wife's sister, in her cramped 2-bedroom house, with our 2 kids sleeping on an air mattress in the living room. I felt like less than a man. I felt like I had failed everyone who depended on me. I started applying for anything. Anything. I delivered pizzas at night. I did odd construction jobs during the day. I picked up shifts stocking shelves at a grocery store. The same kind of job my mom used to work, and honestly, that hit me harder than I expected. I kept thinking about her, wondering what she'd say if she saw me now. There were nights I sat outside, just staring at the sky, wondering what I did to deserve this kind of struggle. I wasn't a bad person. I worked hard. I loved my family. But it felt like no matter what I did, life kept knocking me back down. I started having these thoughts, dark thoughts, about whether my family would be better off without me. I'm not ashamed to admit that now, because I think a lot of people go through moments like that, and nobody talks about it. We're taught to smile and pretend everything's fine, even when we're falling apart inside. But I didn't act on those thoughts. Because every night, when I looked at my kids sleeping, something in me refused to give up. I told myself, just one more day. Get through one more day. And somehow I did. Day after day after day. My wife never left my side, not once. Even in our worst moments, she'd hold my hand and say, "We're going to be okay." I don't know how, but we are. I didn't believe her most of the time. But I let her believe it for both of us. Now here's where the story takes a turn. It was a regular Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were my slow days. I only had one shift at the grocery store. I was sitting on the porch of the small rental house we'd finally managed to move into, drinking coffee, just trying to enjoy 5 minutes of peace before the day started. And then a black car pulled up outside. Not just any car, the kind of car you see in movies. Sleek, expensive, the kind that makes your neighbors peek through their curtains. A man stepped out. Tall. Gray hair. Suit that fit him like it was made specifically for his body. Because it probably was. I didn't recognize him at first. Not really. It had been 30 years. But something in the way he walked, something in his eyes, made my stomach drop. He said my name. And I knew. I stood there frozen. I couldn't say anything. My coffee mug slipped out of my hand and shattered on the porch steps, and I didn't even react. I just stared at him. "I know I have no right to be here," he said. His voice was calm, steady, like he'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. "But I needed to see you." You might be wondering what goes through your mind in a moment like that. Honestly? Everything and nothing at the same time. 30 years of anger, confusion, longing, and grief all hit me at once, like a wave crashing over my head. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to slam the door in his face. But some small part of me, the 7-year-old boy who used to wait by the window for him to come home, that part of me just wanted answers. So I let him in. We sat at my small kitchen table, the same table where I once filled out those financial aid forms and wrote, 0, under father's income. It felt surreal having him sitting there now, in his expensive suit, in my tiny kitchen. He told me his story. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it, a lot of it made me angry. He said he left because he felt trapped. He said he wasn't ready to be a father. He said he ran because he was scared, and once he ran, he didn't know how to come back. He built a company from nothing. Grinded for decades. Made billions. But he told me something that stuck with me more than any of that. He said, "I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. But I don't have a single person who loves me for who I am, not what I have. I have employees. I have business partners. I have people who smile at me because they want something. But I don't have family." He looked at me, and for the first time in my life, I saw this powerful, successful man cry. "I'm dying," he said. "I have maybe a year left. And I couldn't leave this world without seeing my son." I didn't know what to feel. Relief? Anger? Sadness? All of it hit me at once, tangled together in a knot I couldn't untangle. Emotional weight/realization. I want to be honest with you. I didn't forgive him right away. It wasn't like in the movies where the estranged father comes back and everything's magically healed. I told him about the years of struggle. I told him about the Christmas with cardboard toys. I told him about losing our home, about the nights I thought about giving up. I let it all out, 30 years of pain, right there at that kitchen table. He didn't defend himself. He just listened. He cried. He apologized over and over, in a way that felt real, not performative. And here's the thing that really got me. He didn't offer me money. Not at first. He didn't try to buy his way back into my life. He just asked for a chance to know me, to know his grandchildren, to be present, even if it was just for a short time. That meant more to me than any amount of money could have. Over the next few months, he started coming around. Slowly. Awkwardly. He'd sit on the porch with me, and we'd talk, really talk, about life, about mistakes, about the family he'd missed out on for 3 decades. He met my kids. He got down on the floor and played with them, this billionaire in a designer suit, building block towers with my 6-year-old daughter. I watched him, and something in my chest loosened, just a little. He told me one day, "You built a good life. A real life. Something I never had, even with all my money." And that hit me hard, because for so many years, I thought I had failed. I thought struggling meant I wasn't good enough. But hearing him say that, a man worth $12 billion, made me realize something. Money never made him happy. Not really. He had everything, and he was the loneliest man I ever met. I'm not going to lie to you and say everything became perfect. It didn't. There's still pain there. There are still nights I think about all those years he wasn't around, all those milestones he missed. But something shifted in me during those months. I stopped measuring my life by what I didn't have, and I started appreciating what I did have. A wife who never left my side, even during our darkest days. 2 kids who loved me unconditionally. A home, however small, filled with more warmth than any mansion could ever hold. He passed away about 8 months after that day on my porch. I was there, holding his hand, along with my wife and kids. In his final weeks, he told me he'd made his peace. He said the time he spent with us, even though it was short, meant more to him than every dollar he ever made. He did leave us an inheritance. I won't pretend that part didn't help, it did. It changed our financial situation completely. We paid off debts. We bought a home. My kids will go to college without the stress I had filling out those forms. But here's what I want you to really take away from this story, because I think it matters more than the money part. For 30 years I thought my life was missing something because my father wasn't in it. I thought being poor, being without him, meant I was somehow less than. But looking back now, I realize the struggle shaped me into someone strong. Someone who knows the value of hard work. Someone who knows how to love fiercely because I know what it feels like to be without. My father had everything money could buy, and he told me, with tears in his eyes, that it was worth nothing compared to sitting on my porch drinking coffee with his son. So if you're watching this right now, and you're struggling, really struggling, I want you to hear this. Your hardship isn't a sign of failure. It's not proof that you're not good enough. Sometimes the hardest seasons of our lives are building something in us that we won't understand until years later. I spent so long resenting my father for leaving, for missing everything, for choosing money over family. But in the end, he was the one who envied me. He envied the life I built out of nothing. He envied the love in my home, the laughter of my kids, the way my wife looked at me even when we had nothing to our name. Money can buy a lot of things. But it can't buy the kind of life where people love you just because you're you. If there's someone in your life you've been holding on to anger for, a parent, a friend, someone who hurt you, I'm not telling you that you have to forgive them. That's your journey, and only you can decide when, or if, you're ready. But I am telling you this, don't wait 30 years like I did to have the conversation that could change everything. Life is shorter than we think. People change. Circumstances change. And sometimes the very things we think broke us are actually the things that made us who we are. If this story moved you in any way, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever had a moment like this? A moment where everything you thought you knew about your life, your family, your struggle, suddenly shifted. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. I share real stories like this one every week. Stories about struggle, about growth, about the things that break us and the things that put us back together. Thank you for sitting with me through this story. Take care of yourself. And take care of the people you love, while you still have the chance. I'll see you in the next one.